we're going to be putting a CPU back onto the motherboard, and we're going to be using some Chemtools silver grade heatsink compound. Now this is a superior grade, it's a silver grade and has excellent thermal properties for transferring the heat between the CPU and the cooler. Basically we have the motherboard here, and I'm using a Haswell i3 chip which gets quite warm, and we're going to be spreading the heatsink compound onto the chip and placing it back in the computer and running a test called Prime 95, which is going to stress the board, and you can see how effective the paste is. Now what we're going to be doing first is I've cleaned the old compound off the chip, and I've used some methylated spirits to do that with a nice clean tissue. The chip is actually nice and clean now. And here's our cooler. It's a standard Intel cooler. Comes with the CPU. Now what we're going to do, I've taken the top off the actual heatsink compound, and I'm going to put about the size of a pea onto the actual chip. You don't need very much, you just need to make it, skim it on very thinly. The idea is to put a thin, even layer there, so you take up any imperfection gaps between the cooler and the actual chip. I'm going to actually spread it on with a cardboard piece of card. I'll just stop. As you can see, what I've done is I've used the card to actually spread the compound out on the actual chip. Now remember, the silver grade ones are conductive, so you've got to be very careful not to get it on any part of the circuitry. So what we're going to do now is pop the chip back into the box and put the cooler back on. Okay, so being very careful with the chip not to drop it. Put the chip back into the actual socket. Now you have to be really careful when you do this not to bend the pins on the actual socket. You put the little latch down and we'll latch it up nice and tight. And then we're going to replace our cooler down. I'll just replace that, and then I'll show you some tests running with Prime 95. Alright, I've just popped the actual cooler back on. You've got to ensure that all the little latching pins are down nice and tight. That way it makes intimate contact with the top of the actual CPU. And don't forget to plug your fan back in again, otherwise the computer won't boot. Okay, back again. Now we've got core temp running. This will actually give us the temperatures on the chip, and this is Prime 95. This will actually stress the computer and give it a workout. Just lets you know how effective your heatsink compound is. So you generally run this for about half an hour, and you tend to get good results with the silver paste. That's how to change the paste in your